Part 1. Money is spiritual energy, not from labor, but from divine substance. They taught us wrong. From the moment we stepped into school, from dinner table talks to motivational seminars, one message echoed loud and clear. If you want money, you have to work hard. The belief is burned into our subconscious that money is a reward for labor, that it comes through sweat, effort, strategy, or connections. And if you don't have enough of it, you simply haven't earned it yet. But what if that's not the truth? What if money isn't created in banks or paychecks? What if it doesn't really come from your boss or your clients or the hours you log in your job? What if money is not something you chase in the physical world at all? Here's a radical idea, but one that spiritual teachers like Florence Scovel Shinn knew and lived by. Money is spiritual substance, energy made visible. It is obedient, not earned. It responds to faith, not to struggle. Let that sink in for a moment. The misunderstanding of money. In today's world, we are trained to treat money as a commodity, limited, scarce, and hard to come by. We're told there's not enough to go around, and if someone else has more, you must settle for less. Society glorifies hard work to the point that struggle becomes a badge of honor. No pain, no gain, right? But under spiritual law, this belief system is entirely backwards. Money isn't finite. It doesn't dry up. It doesn't punish you for resting or bless you only when you grind. Florence Scovel Shinn reminded us of an ancient truth. Money is energy, and energy flows wherever belief directs it. That means your relationship with money has very little to do with your effort, and everything to do with your beliefs, your identity, and most of all, your words. Money is divine substance in motion. In her teachings, Florence doesn't describe money as paper bills or digital numbers on a screen. She describes it as divine substance, spiritual energy that responds to the vibration of your consciousness. When you speak of abundance with faith, gratitude, and certainty, you call money forth from the unseen realm into the visible. When you speak of fear, lack, or struggle, you push it away. This is not wishful thinking. It's not naive optimism. It's spiritual law. Just as gravity doesn't care if you're rich or poor, the law of supply doesn't care about your background. It only responds to your alignment, the degree to which you know your divine identity, and speak from that truth. You were never meant to live under the tyranny of lack, Florence says. You are the rich child of a rich father, heir to the infinite treasury of God. In other words, the treasure chest has always been full. The only thing that keeps you from receiving is the veil of disbelief. The power of the spoken word. If money is spiritual, then the key to activating it is spiritual too. And that key is your word. From the dawn of creation, let there be light, we see that nothing happens until something is spoken. The same applies to money. Words are not just sound, they are command. They are tools of creation. Florence calls the tongue the scepter of a king, a rod of divine power that plants seeds into the subconscious, where all manifestation begins. When you declare, I am divinely provided for, I now receive large sums of money easily and under grace. Money flows to me freely and endlessly. You're not hoping, you're not begging, you are commanding energy, and energy always responds. You don't chase money, you call it. The beauty of this truth is that it flips the script. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to exhaust yourself chasing opportunities. You simply need to align your beliefs, speak with faith, and receive. Let go of the old idea that money must come from hustle or hardship. It may arrive through channels like jobs, sales, or gifts, but it originates from the spiritual. You are not the worker scraping for provision. You are the magnet of divine substance. As Florence puts it, speak and see it appear. Because in the kingdom of spiritual law, money does not come to the one who struggles hardest. It comes to the one who speaks with power. Part 2. You were born to command supply, not to settle for lack. If money is spiritual substance, And if your words and beliefs are the levers that call it forth, then the next question is this: who are you in relation to that supply? And the truth is, most people are living far beneath their inheritance, not because they aren't smart or capable, but because they don't realize what they're entitled to. Florence Scovel Shinn was very clear about this. You are the rich child of a rich father. Let that land. You are not some desperate beggar trying to earn your keep in the universe. You're not a charity case waiting for blessings to maybe trickle down if you're good enough. You're a rightful heir, a child of divine wealth, a co-creator of your own experience. That means you were never meant to live in scarcity. You were never meant to just get by. You were born to command supply, not to plead for scraps. Scarcity isn't natural, it's learned. Here's the thing: lack is not part of your spiritual DNA. It's not your destiny. It's a program installed by parents, schools, media, and society that teaches you to expect less, accept less, and hope for crumbs instead of claiming the feast. We're taught to think in limits. There's not enough to go around. I have to work harder to deserve more. I shouldn't want too much. I can't afford that. These thoughts sound normal, even responsible. But spiritually, they're lies. And worse, they're lies that keep you stuck. They cut you off from the truth that you are already connected to an infinite supply, and the only thing blocking it is your belief that it's not yours. Fear and false beliefs. The real blockers. If you've ever wondered why money feels like it's always slipping away, why breakthroughs seem so close yet never arrive, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're believing something wrong. The real barriers are two things: fear and false identity. You fear you won't have enough. You fear losing what you do have. You fear judgment, failure, disappointment, or even success. And that fear tells your subconscious it's not safe to have more. So it keeps you in familiar patterns of limitation. You work harder, budget tighter, stress more, but the money still runs dry. Why? Because deep down you don't see yourself as someone who naturally receives. You see yourself as someone who must struggle to earn. But the truth is the opposite. When you recognize that you are an heir to divine wealth, that the universe is not stingy, but abundant beyond measure, then you stop acting like someone who needs permission. You start acting like someone who owns the vault. Inheritance over effort. Think about this. A child born into wealth doesn't deserve their inheritance by effort. It's theirs by birthright. And while spiritual law doesn't operate on entitlement in a selfish sense, it absolutely honors identity. When you know who you are, the universe responds to that. Florence taught that divine supply is always trying to reach you, but it can only match the channel you've set. If you're tuned to lack, you'll receive lack. If you're tuned to overflow, you'll receive overflow. That's not magic, that's spiritual law. You are the thermostat, not the thermometer. Claiming your role as commander. Here's the shift. Stop asking life to give you more. Start commanding what's already yours, not with arrogance, but with clarity and conviction. You don't do this by manipulating people or chasing every opportunity in fear. You do it by aligning your energy with truth, by speaking words that match your divine inheritance, by making decisions as if the supply is already guaranteed. Because it is. This isn't ego, it's alignment. You're not demanding money to inflate your worth. You're inviting wealth to reflect your truth. The truth that you're not here to suffer through lack. You're here to channel abundance, serve with overflow, and live as a living example of divine supply in action. Let the inner identity lead. Once you shift how you see yourself, everything around you starts to shift too. Opportunities open up. Resources find you. The how stops mattering because the who is finally in place. And that's you, the one who commands, not the one who begs, the one who remembers who they really are. You've always been connected to the source. Now it's time to act like it. Part 3. The 3 spiritual laws that govern money. Once you recognize yourself as a rightful heir to infinite supply, not a beggar, but a commander, the next question becomes, How does divine supply actually work? And here's where many people get stuck. They mentally accept that abundance is spiritual and that identity shapes experience. But they still treat money as random, ruled by markets, luck, connections, or background. But the truth is simple and powerful. Money is governed by divine law, not by the economy, not by your upbringing, and not by your current circumstances. These laws are universal. They don't play favorites. They respond to energy, not status. They don't care how qualified you are. They only care how aligned you are. There are many spiritual principles related to wealth, but 3 rise above the rest. These are the cornerstones, the irrefutable, unshakable laws that determine how money moves in and out of your life. Law number 1, the law of belief. The first law is this: what you deeply believe, you will inevitably experience. This isn't just a mindset hack. It's a spiritual law. Belief is more than thought. It's identity cemented in emotion. It's what you know to be true, even if no one else agrees. If you believe money is hard to get, it will be. If you believe you're not good with money, you'll keep mismanaging it. If you believe you're always supported, even when the how is unclear, you'll find yourself in flow. Money doesn't come to those who need it. It comes to those who believe it's already theirs. Why? Because belief creates resonance. It sets the energetic tone that attracts matching results. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are convinced of. That's why affirmations alone don't work, unless your belief matches the words. You can say, "I am rich," all day long. But if deep down you believe you're struggling, the law will honor your core belief, not your surface language. Law number 2, the law of circulation. The second law is often overlooked, but just as crucial. Money must flow to grow. Spiritual supply is never stagnant. It is meant to circulate, like air, like blood, like water. The more freely it moves through your life, the more of it returns. Fear stops circulation. Scarcity thinking stops circulation. Clutching, hoarding, and "what if I lose it?" Energy shuts down the flow. That's why generosity is so powerful. Not just because it's kind, but because it signals trust. It says, "I know more is coming. I am connected to an unlimited source." The law of circulation doesn't mean spending recklessly. It means staying in motion, investing, giving, receiving, and expanding with openness. Even when you're not sure where the next check is coming from, the decision to give can activate new channels. You don't lose money by giving it in alignment. You lose it when fear becomes your financial strategy. Law number 3, the law of expectation. The third law is this: what you expect with confidence, you invite into reality. Expectation is different from hope. Hope is fragile. Expectation is solid. It's grounded in spiritual knowing. To expect is to prepare the table before the feast arrives. It's placing the order in the restaurant of life and knowing the meal is on its way, even if you can't see it being made. Most people unconsciously expect delay, difficulty, or just enough. And that's exactly what they get. Their words may be positive, but their true expectation is laced with doubt. Expectation speaks louder than intention. It's the secret script running beneath the surface. That's why Florence emphasized saying, "I look with wonder at that which is before me." It's a phrase of expectant gratitude, not begging for blessings, but making space for them. When you expect the best, life rises to meet that standard. Not because of wishful thinking, but because energy obeys structure, and expectation is a structure of belief. These 3 laws, belief, circulation, and expectation, don't depend on your job title, your past, your savings account, or your degrees. They operate the same way for everyone. Rich or poor, young or old, spiritual or skeptical. They respond to alignment, not appearance, to consciousness, not circumstance. And when you understand how they work and begin to live by them, money starts moving in ways that feel almost effortless. Not because the world suddenly changes, but because you did. Part 4, your words are the scepter. What you speak, you multiply. If belief shapes your inner world and expectation draws results into form, then the tool that activates both is this: your word. Florence Scovel Shinn called it the scepter of the king. And that's no metaphor, it's spiritual law. In ancient times, a king's scepter was a symbol of absolute authority. What he decreed was final. When he spoke, the kingdom responded, no questions asked. The same is true with you. Your words are not just casual sounds. They are commands. They declare what you believe, what you expect, and what you are allowing into your life. Every sentence you speak is either inviting abundance or reinforcing lack. Most people speak by habit. They repeat what they hear. They vent. They joke about being broke. They casually declare things like, "I can't afford that. Money never stays with me. It's hard out here." And they think it doesn't matter. But it does. It matters deeply. Because your subconscious mind, the part of you that shapes all outcomes, doesn't filter sarcasm. It doesn't understand just kidding. It only records what it hears and works to make it real. Words are seeds that multiply. Every time you speak, you're planting something. The subconscious is the soil, completely neutral but incredibly fertile. It doesn't judge what kind of seed you plant. It simply says, yes. So when you say, "I always run out of money," your subconscious hears that and multiplies it. When you say, "There's never enough," it gets busy organizing your world to reflect lack. On the other hand, when you declare, "I am always provided for," or "Divine supply meets every need," you are speaking creative power, and your subconscious begins working behind the scenes to align your reality. The universe echoes what you say, not because it's listening in some magical way, but because your words set the tone for your vibration, and vibration is what attracts form. Ruling your world with speech. In spiritual terms, your word is not a request. It's a decree. That's why Florence warned never to speak fear, debt, or defeat, even as a joke. You are always creating when you speak. If you saw every sentence as a blueprint for your future, you'd never speak carelessly again. You wouldn't say, "This will never work." You'd say, "Everything is working together for my good." You wouldn't say, "I can't catch a break." You'd say, "Blessings chase me down." You wouldn't say, "I don't know how this will happen." You'd say, "It is already done in the invisible. I now receive it in the visible." This is not blind positivity, it's spiritual authorship. You're not denying reality. You're choosing to speak from a higher truth than what your senses currently show. Reprogramming your money language. Most people have spent years, even decades, speaking scarcity, repeating the words of parents, culture, and struggle. Changing your language won't feel natural at first. You might feel like you're lying to yourself. But here's the thing. You've been lying to yourself for years when you said you weren't enough. When you said life was against you. When you said you had to hustle for crumbs. Now, you're telling a better lie. And it's not really a lie at all. It's the original truth that got buried under fear. Start small. Replace. "I can't afford that" with "It's not aligned right now, but I'm open to receiving it easily." Replace "Money doesn't grow on trees" with "Money flows freely to me from expected and unexpected sources." Replace "I'm broke" with "I'm between abundant inflows." These shifts may sound subtle, but they reprogram your inner system to expect more, receive more, and believe more. Speak as the one who already has. This is the ultimate key. Don't speak as someone who's trying to get rich. Speak as someone who knows they are already wealthy, because you are backed by divine supply. Talk like someone who's supported. Declare like someone with authority. Affirm like someone who's not asking, but owning. Florence put it this way: your word is your wand. With it, you can bless or destroy. So choose to bless. Choose to create. Because money doesn't move for desperation. It moves for declaration. And you are the one holding the scepter. Part 5. Law 1. The law of the faith-filled word. After understanding that your words are creative power, that every phrase you speak is either commanding wealth or blocking it, the next level is this. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. The first and most powerful law of wealth manifestation is this: your words, when spoken with faith, unlock the flow of divine supply. Not fear, not repetition, not robotic affirmations, but faith-filled declarations, confident, grounded, and emotionally aligned with the truth of abundance. This is what Florence meant by the law of the word with faith. It's not enough to say, "I am rich," if you don't believe it. The words must be charged with conviction, or they're just empty noise. Faith activates substance. Faith is not a vague hope. It's not wishing something will happen. Faith is spiritual certainty. It's the boldness that comes from knowing you are backed by a limitless source, and that what you declare already exists in the unseen, and is now taking form. When you speak with faith, you do more than affirm. You activate. You call forth substance from the invisible realm, from what Florence called the spiritual storehouse, where all supply already exists in potential form. And when your words match that level of certainty, money responds instantly. Think of it like this: doubt whispers, hope trembles, but faith commands. And the universe obeys command, not confusion. No wavering, no backup plans. A major reason affirmations don't work for most people is because they're delivered from a place of fear. There's hesitation in the voice, a subtle, "but what if it doesn't work?" playing in the background. But spiritual law requires certainty, not compromise. Jesus said, "Whosoever shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe, he shall have whatsoever he saith." Notice the wording, "shall not doubt in his heart." The creative power of your word is short-circuited by doubt. It's not enough to say something positive and immediately follow it with fear, second-guessing, or contradiction. Faith doesn't leave room for plan B. Faith doesn't keep checking the results to see if it's working. Faith says it once, with full power, and then rests in the outcome. The tone of truth. When your words are rooted in faith, there's a tone, a resonance, that hits differently. You don't just say, "Money flows to me." You know it does. And that knowing transforms your energy. It doesn't matter how long you've been broke. It doesn't matter what your bank account says today. You are not speaking from the current condition. You're speaking to it. That's why your declarations must come from the identity of someone who's already in possession. You don't say, "I hope I can get by." You say, "I am always provided for. Every dollar I need is already on its way. My supply is unlimited, immediate, and divinely guided." And you say it like you mean it. Not like you're begging, but like you're remembering what's already yours. Keep it simple, keep it certain. Faith doesn't require fancy words. In fact, simplicity is often more powerful. One sentence, spoken with conviction, is more potent than 20 hollow affirmations. Florence often used simple phrases like, "God is my instant and everlasting supply. I now draw from the abundance within me. Unexpected doors fly open, unexpected channels appear." You don't need poetic language. You need clear intention, delivered with emotional certainty. Every time you speak with faith, you send a clear signal to your subconscious, to universal law, and to the field of infinite potential. This is who I am. This is what I expect. This is already mine. When you speak in faith, things move. What happens when you truly speak from faith? Resources show up without effort. People offer help, ideas, and opportunities. Delayed payments suddenly clear. Jobs, clients, partnerships appear out of nowhere. And even in impossible situations, a way opens. Not because you hustled, not because you worked overtime, but because you spoke truth with authority. And truth rearranges reality. The law of the faith-filled word doesn't need time. It needs alignment. Say it, believe it, release it, and watch the invisible move on your behalf. Part 6, Law 2. Divine right action, aligned movement, not struggle. After declaring your abundance with unwavering faith, after commanding the universe with words that carry conviction, comes the next spiritual law. Move when moved, act when aligned, obey the nudge. This is the law of divine right action. It's not about hustle, force, or scrambling to make it happen. It's about stepping forward in response to inner guidance when the time, place, and method are in divine alignment. Most people are trained to act from fear. I better take this job or I might not find another. Let me chase this client before someone else does. If I don't do it now, I'll miss my window. That kind of pressure-based movement is not divine right action. It's survival mode action, rooted in lack, not trust. Divine action doesn't feel panicked. It feels clear. It doesn't scream. It nudges. And when you follow it, doors open with shocking ease. Inspired action versus desperate motion. There's a massive difference between movement and alignment. The world worships busyness. It praises grind culture. But spiritual law doesn't reward effort for its own sake. It rewards obedience to guidance. You can work 80 hours a week and still block abundance. You can burn out chasing money that was never yours to chase. But when you take one aligned action, the one your spirit quietly told you to do, it often results in more flow than months of effort. For example, you feel prompted to follow up with someone you haven't spoken to in years, and they connect you to a breakthrough opportunity. You feel a sudden urge to rewrite your bio or update your site, and the next day a new client shows up. You decline an offer that looks good on paper but feels off, and a better one appears days later. That's divine right action, and it's always timely, effortless, and fruitful. How to recognize divine right action. So how do you know it's divine? Look for the following markers. Peace, not pressure. It may stretch you, but it won't panic you. Clarity, even if it seems illogical. Your rational mind might not get it, but your inner compass will. Flow, things click into place without struggle. When it's right, the pieces come together. Joy or quiet confidence, not fear. There's often a sense of rightness that follows the action, even if it was uncomfortable. You might not always understand the action in the moment, but if it's divine, the results will prove it. Trust the inner prompt, not the outer noise. This law only works if you trust the voice within you more than the noise around you. The world will give you 1,000 opinions on what you should do to make money. Build a funnel. Invest in this. Try that strategy. Be everywhere. Move fast or lose your chance. But divine right action often comes in stillness. It might look slower. It might not be trendy. It might be the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And yet, when you obey that inner knowing, things align with ease and grace. The divine doesn't shout over your chaos. It waits for your stillness. Divine action honors. Divine timing is part of this law. You might be ready for something mentally, emotionally, even financially, but if the timing is off, it won't land. And if you try to force it, you'll get resistance instead of results. That's why divine right action means right movement at the right moment. When you follow it, you don't miss windows. You don't settle for scraps. You don't chase people or force deals. You are led, and the leading is accurate. You are not the source, you are the vessel. It's easy to forget. You're not the source of your abundance. You are the receiver, the channel, the steward. So your job isn't to manufacture success. It's to tune in, speak the truth, and then move when moved. Trust that what you need to know will be revealed. Trust that what you need to do will be shown. Trust that the next step will make sense when it's time to take it. Divine right action means you're not hustling for crumbs. You're following the rhythm of abundance. And when you do, prosperity doesn't just come. It chases you down. Part 7, Law. 3. Non-resistance and substitution. Letting go to let flow. After you've spoken your truth with faith, after you've taken inspired action aligned with divine timing, there's still one more spiritual law you must honor, and it might be the hardest. Let go. Don't cling. Don't resist. This is the law of non-resistance and substitution, and it's one of the most misunderstood because it asks you to stop fighting, to stop holding on, to stop mentally gripping outcomes, people, money, control, timing. Resistance is the quiet killer of abundance. You can say all the right affirmations. You can take all the inspired steps. But if deep down you're still attached, still grasping out of fear, you block the very thing you're asking for. What is resistance? Resistance shows up when we obsess over when and how the money will arrive. Try to force outcomes that don't feel aligned. Hold on to relationships, jobs, or clients that no longer serve us. Cling to past trauma or current fear as if it's our identity. Refuse to release what's clearly leaving. Resistance is any thought, emotion, or behavior that says, I don't trust the flow, I don't trust the source, I must hold on or I'll lose everything. But spiritual law works best in a surrendered state. Not passive, surrendered. There's a difference. Surrender is power, not weakness. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to the deeper rhythm of divine flow. It means saying, if this thing, person, opportunity is not meant for me, I release it, knowing what's mine cannot miss me. That kind of internal freedom is magnetic. Because the moment you release something that doesn't belong, whether it's fear, a toxic situation, or a limited belief, you create space. And here's the key. The universe always fills a vacuum. Let go of fear, and peace flows in. Let go of control, and clarity flows in. Let go of the wrong thing, and the right thing shows up faster than expected. Substitution. Don't just let go, replace it. Now comes the second part of the law. Substitution. It's not enough to stop thinking negatively. You must replace the thought with something true, strong, and affirming. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "You cannot hold two mental pictures at the same time. One will always crowd out the other." If fear says, "What if the money doesn't come?" you substitute, "My supply is certain and never late. I walk in divine timing." If lack says, "There's not enough to go around," you substitute, "I live in a field of infinite supply. I always have more than enough." You don't argue with the negative thought. You simply replace it with something better. And you do it every time until the positive becomes your default. What you let go of, lets go of you. Every energetic cord you cut, every belief you release, every emotional pattern you outgrow, frees up space, not just in your mind, but in your energetic field. And when you stop resisting what's leaving, what's aligned can finally enter. You stop chasing, you stop overthinking, you stop acting out of desperation. And suddenly, miracles become normal. That job you thought you lost, replaced by something far better. That client you feared losing, opens space for 5 more. That money you were panicking over, arrives through an unexpected source, after you let go of the need to know how. Prosperity follows peace. The law of non-resistance isn't just about making peace. It's about choosing peace, even in the face of uncertainty. Because peace is a creative force. It tells the universe, I trust you, I trust myself, I trust the law. When you're no longer mentally wrestling life into shape, you become a clear vessel. And that clarity attracts abundance effortlessly. Remember this truth. Money loves calm energy. Money avoids needy, frantic energy. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to chase it. You simply have to let go of everything that blocks it and replace those blocks with truth. Non-resistance isn't passive. It's the most profound form of participation in the divine flow. Part 8, Affirmations. Reprogramming the subconscious and rewriting reality. Once you've let go of resistance and replaced fear-based thoughts with truth, you now stand in a position of conscious creation. This is where affirmations become your greatest tool. Affirmations aren't empty positive thinking. They are spiritual commands, spoken with intention, that recode the subconscious mind, which in turn restructures your reality. In essence, what you repeatedly affirm with faith becomes the pattern your life must follow. The subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't filter. It doesn't analyze. It accepts whatever is repeated with emotional conviction, and then works 24/7 to make it true. Why affirmations? Work. Your subconscious is like fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant, through thought, emotion, and word, it nurtures and grows. If you constantly say, money is hard to come by, your subconscious goes, got it, let's make that true. But if you begin declaring, money flows to me in expected and unexpected ways, it starts to reorient your perception, habits, and magnetism to fulfill that belief. It's not magic, it's spiritual law in action. Affirmations act like spiritual programming scripts. They override the old code, fear, scarcity, unworthiness, and install something higher, bolder, more abundant. The vibration behind the words. The words you speak matter, but the energy behind them is everything. Saying, I'm rich, while internally feeling poor, creates resistance. But saying, I am open to wealth, I am learning to receive with grace, while feeling honest and grounded, that creates alignment. Your goal isn't to fake it till you make it. It's to speak it until you believe it. And once you believe it, the outer world shifts to match it. Florence Scovel Shinn famously said, "The game of life is a game of boomerangs. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy." That's why affirmations aren't nice to have. They're how you shape the boomerangs. Examples of powerful money affirmations. Used consistently, these affirmations begin dissolving years, even decades, of subconscious programming around scarcity. Money is my obedient servant. I do not chase it. It comes when I call. Reverses the idea of money being hard-earned and difficult. I live in a universe of divine supply. Everything I need is always provided at the right time. Calms the fear of lack and restores trust in divine timing. My wealth is secure, sacred, and increasing daily. No one and no thing can take it from me. Replaces anxiety around losing what you have. Every time I speak with faith, I unlock new channels of abundance. Strengthens the link between speech and reality. You don't need dozens. You need a handful that speak directly to your core beliefs. And you need to say them daily, consistently, with heart. When and how to use affirmations. Affirmations are most effective when your subconscious is most open. Typically, first thing in the morning, right before sleep, immediately after meditation or prayer, while walking, driving, or doing repetitive tasks. But most importantly, use them when fear arises. When your mind starts spiraling with worst-case scenarios, don't try to suppress the fear. Replace it. The moment you catch a limiting belief, speak the opposite truth aloud. Let your voice be the sword that cuts through doubt. Speak until it becomes your identity. You are not simply using affirmations to attract money. You are using them to become the kind of person who naturally exists in a state of wealth, worthiness, and peace. Affirmations work because they change who you believe you are. And once you believe something at the identity level, it becomes effortless to live it. You no longer have to act rich or pretend to have it together. You are someone who expects provision, moves in calm confidence, and welcomes abundance as your birthright. The final link in the chain affirmations are not wishful thinking. They are spiritual decrees, creative commands that align your inner world with divine law. When combined with Law 1, faith-filled words. Law 2, divine right action. Law 3, non-resistance and substitution. Affirmations become the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the mechanism by which desire becomes form. Speak with faith. Declare what is true at the spiritual level until your physical reality rises to match it. The universe is always listening, and your words, when spoken with trust, are always shaping the world you step into next. Part 9. Wealth is not earned by struggle. It's the outcome of alignment with divine law. After anchoring your consciousness with faith-filled affirmations, the next and final realization is both simple and revolutionary. True wealth is not the result of hard labor. It is the byproduct of inner alignment. We've been conditioned to believe the opposite, that the more we grind, hustle, and sacrifice, the more we'll receive. That wealth must be earned through exhaustion and endless doing. But that belief is rooted in fear, not truth. It's based on the false idea that life is hard, money is scarce, and we must fight for our share. Spiritual law says otherwise. Divine law operates through alignment, not effort. The universe is not impressed by effort disconnected from wisdom. It doesn't respond to anxiety, overwork, or desperation. It responds to alignment, to faith, to clarity, to surrendered action that flows from spiritual confidence. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote that money comes as easily as air or sunshine when man aligns himself with the laws of abundance. That's the real secret, not doing more, but being more aligned. Alignment means you think, speak, feel, and act in harmony with divine law, rather than against it. You don't panic, you trust. You don't force, you flow. You don't beg, you declare. You don't chase, you attract. When you release control, you make room for miracles. Control is a fear response. It says, if I don't make it happen, it won't happen. But when you operate from that belief, you close the door to grace. You shut down your own creative channels. You grind harder, worry more, and still feel unsafe. Wealth doesn't show up in that space, not the kind that lasts. But when you surrender, when you let go of the how and trust the law, wealth starts showing up in ways you couldn't plan. An unexpected opportunity lands in your lap. A check arrives out of nowhere. A person appears with the exact solution you've been needing. Not because you earned it, but because you finally aligned with the spiritual frequency that allows it in. Trust activates the flow. The real work is internal. It's the practice of replacing fear with faith, scarcity with truth, and control with surrender, moment by moment, decision by decision. That's where the shift happens. I trust that everything I need is already on its way. I release control, knowing I am divinely supported in all I do. I walk in partnership with infinite supply. I am never alone in my provision. These aren't just feel-good quotes. They are reprogramming tools. They tune your inner world to the exact vibration wealth responds to. Because money, like all energy, follows clarity, confidence, and calm expectation. From forcing to flowing. There's a kind of wealth that can't be earned through hustle. The wealth of peace, timing, ease, and synchronicity. When you stop trying to micromanage your life and start trusting the larger intelligence that governs it, you shift into a different gear entirely. You say less, and your words carry more power. You do less, and you accomplish more. You try less and receive more. Because spiritual alignment multiplies your energy. It makes your actions magnetic. Your presence becomes your currency. This is what true prosperity feels like. It's not just about the money. It's about the experience of life when you live by divine law. You feel supported, not burdened. You feel provided for, not panicked. You feel open, receptive, and secure, even before the physical money arrives. That's the paradox. When you no longer need the money to feel safe, the money arrives freely. Because you've become the kind of person who is no longer vibrating lack. You're vibrating truth. And the universe, in its precision and perfection, cannot help but match your frequency with provision. Part 10. The spoken word. Combined with faith and right action, is the master key to break every financial limitation. Everything you've read so far leads to this final realization. You don't need to beg for money. You were born to command it. Money isn't moved by desperation. It doesn't respond to pleading. It responds to clarity, conviction, and commanding speech, backed by belief and right action. Your word is your wand. Your faith is the fuel. Your action is the alignment. Put those three together, and there is no limit to what can manifest in your financial life. You were never meant to struggle for supply. In Part 9, we explored how wealth is not the result of struggle, but of spiritual alignment. That alignment is activated through your voice. You don't ask for money in fear. You declare it in faith. This is not arrogance. This is divine authority. Florence Scovel Shinn made it clear. We are spiritual beings, children of an infinite source, and as such, we inherit its creative power. When you speak lack, your subconscious obeys. When you speak abundance with confidence, it responds the same way, by reshaping reality to reflect that inner belief. So why speak like a servant when you were born to rule? Your words set the blueprint. Your belief gives it life. Think of your words as the architectural blueprint. Your faith is the electricity that powers the building, and your action is the physical construction that turns it into form. If even one piece is missing, the structure is incomplete. If you speak positive words without belief, they fall flat. If you believe without speaking, you leave your command unsent. If you speak and believe but never act, your creation remains unexpressed. But when all three are working in unity, that's where miracles happen. That's when the check shows up, the job offer comes, the opportunity appears, right on time, through channels you never could have orchestrated, because your inner authority has summoned it. The law responds to decree, not doubt. The universe is governed by spiritual law, not favoritism, not randomness, not status. The person living in a mansion and the person worrying about rent are both under the same law. The difference, one is using the law, the other is fearing life outside of it. When you say, "I am now open to receive the full flow of divine supply," but you are not hoping, you are not requesting, you are declaring a truth, and the law must obey. If you say it with belief and follow the inner nudges toward aligned action, the result becomes inevitable. Not maybe, not someday, inevitable. This is how you take back your power. It's time to retire the story of not enough, of chasing, of scraping by, of waiting for permission. You are not waiting on money. Money is waiting on your command. This is your inheritance, to speak with certainty, to believe without fear, to act without hesitation, to receive without guilt. You are not here to suffer. You are here to co-create. And your voice, when aligned with divine law, carries the force of creative power itself. Examples of commanding speech. Let these words become your daily spiritual discipline. I now declare abundance in every area of my life. Money flows to me with ease, grace, and divine timing. I am no longer a victim of lack. I stand in full authority as a child of infinite supply. All that is mine by divine right is now released to me in perfect ways. Say them with conviction. Feel them in your bones. Then take the next inspired step, no matter how small, and watch how fast the law moves on your behalf. The final shift. You're not just attracting wealth. You are wealth. This journey isn't about getting rich. It's about remembering who you really are. Once you realize that you and supply are not separate, that you are a living extension of divine abundance, the chase ends. You stop trying to get money because you've become a channel for it. You stop striving because you start commanding. And when you speak, believe, and act in unity with divine law, you no longer wonder if money will show up. You know it will. Because now, you are the source that calls it forth.